Welcome to the Consumer's Corner Show, the only show of its kind where we fight for consumers who've been wronged by bad businesses. We answer questions, solve problems, and listen to complaints while also recognizing great companies that operate professionally with honesty and integrity. Today's show is sponsored by MarksAllPros.com. Looking for contractors you can trust? Looking for business professionals you can count on? Find your next pro at MarksAllPros.com, connecting smart consumers with great companies. And now, your host of Consumer's Corner, consumer advocate, Patrick Mattingly.
Hey, welcome to the show. My name is Patrick Mattingly. This is the Consumer's Corner Show. If this is the first time you're joining us, man, you're in for a real treat today, especially if you are a small business owner. We want to definitely get the attention of small business owners. So if you're a small business owner or you know a small business owner, make sure that you share this video with them because we've got a lot of great information that we're going to share about helping small business owners. So I'll get to that in a minute. But first off, I want to start off with, for those of you that have never seen this show before, my name is Patrick Mattingly. I'm a consumer advocate. Self-professed consumer advocate. I used to work for a consumer advocate. I've worked with consumer advocates. And, you know, what's funny is I was in the construction industry. Been in the construction industry my whole life. I've actually gotten into, you know, other professional type services. I was in mortgages at one point. But the bottom line is there's one common denominator about businesses out there, that there are great companies out there. And there's a lot of really great companies out there. But the problem is there's a lot of bad companies out there. There's a lot of companies out there that are unethical. Their goal, their number one goal, is to see how much money they can separate from you and put in their wallet. And that's just something that it's just an inevitable thing. It's probably never going to change. I'm not going to stop it. But what we can do, and what our goal here at the Consumer's Corner Show is to educate you, and to educate, I mean, I learn just as much when I'm watching the show, so I don't mean that in a demeaning manner, but to educate people so that when you run across a type of a situation where you want to hire a particular type of contractor, or you want to hire a particular type of professional, that you can educate yourself enough so that you can go in and that person that you meet with, you can ask them the right questions, and you can kind of get an idea of who you're working with based upon the questions and the things that you learn during, you know, watching the Consumer's Corner Show. I've got other videos out there. I started off about 11 years ago doing this myself, and man, I'll tell you what, I'm so glad, I'm so proud of what I do. It's something that I really take to heart. I just thoroughly enjoy this because I've helped so many people not only avoid getting ripped off, but I've helped a lot of people actually get either their money back, or I've actually helped them get the equivalent of their money back, and getting, you know, contractors to go back and do the right thing when something went wrong. And so I just love what I do. This is what Consumer's Corner is about. It's to help educate you. We do other shows where we actually will, you know, hey, look, think about it for a minute. How many times have you ever hired a company and, you know, things were great at first, but then all of a sudden one thing goes wrong, and then another thing goes wrong, and the next thing you know, you're in a situation where it is just not, it's not right. Maybe with a contractor, you hired the wrong contractor, and you get finished with the job, you walk away, the contractor leaves, and there's stuff that's left unfinished, or maybe they overcharged you, or whatever. There's just many different scenarios out there, but imagine that, right? And then you contact that company and you want to get some resolution. Maybe you're unhappy with something, or maybe that you want to exercise your warranty. Maybe something went wrong, and lo and behold, they won't call you back. How many times has that ever happened to you? Well, it happens to everybody. It happens quite frequently. And so what we do here at the Consumer's Corner Show on another show is we will actually, you know, first of all, if you file a complaint against that company, it's probably never going to be a Marks All Pros company, but if you file a complaint against that company anywhere around the country, it doesn't matter where it is, if you file a complaint against them, what we're going to do is we're going to investigate it, right? We're going to take a look at all the facts. We're going to get all your facts as a consumer. And then what we do is we're going to contact the company. And we often do that live right here on the Consumer's Corner Show. And as a matter of fact, on the show, you can actually call in and you can give us your 2 cents. We bring on the consumer and we bring on the contractor or the company, and we try to resolve that problem right there on the show, okay? A lot of times we don't even get to that because the contractor or the company, they don't want to step up to the plate. They don't want to do the right thing, and they just flat out ignore us. I'll give you an example. There was a show I did several weeks ago about an asphalt contractor that did an absolutely lousy job for this homeowner who had waited for the longest time to have his driveway paved, and he did an absolute lousy job for him. And it was lousy. It was hack. It was a terrible job. And there were areas that didn't drain, and it just looked terrible. And this was this guy's dream home. He had built this home. He'd worked extremely hard to build this home. And the next thing you know, this guy comes in and paves his driveway and does just a terrible job. So this guy's got problems with drainage. He wants to exercise his warranty. I contact the owner, and what does he do? Call my attorney. I'm like, well, call your attorney for what? I mean, we just want to see if you're going to step up to the plate and do the right thing. Bottom line is the guy's never, ever come on the show to tell his side of the story. All he said is that that's a great job. Doesn't matter. Well, then what we do is we expose those companies, right? Now, I will tell you that, in my opinion, I wouldn't use that company. You can go look at our other videos. It's an asphalt driveway in Evergreen, and you'll see the name of the company. And you know what? My opinion is don't use them. You can use them if you want. I'm not going to tell you that, they're the worst company in the world and don't use them. And, it's just my opinion, okay? And so what we'll do is we'll expose those companies so that you as a consumer, if you ever want to hire a company, just go to Consumers Corner or go to Marks All Pros. You can find companies and double check them and make sure that they're not a company that that I personally say, hey, I probably wouldn't use them in my opinion. So, and you can watch shows and you can hear their responses right there, on the show. So the companies that we do bring on the air, we will actually bring them on, and we will try to solve the problem right here on the show. And if we can't, we can't. But typically, we do tend to solve a lot of problems. Man, I just love what I do. I've helped so many people, and it's just really. It's such a great thing to be able to wake up every day and feel good about what you do and go to sleep well at night. And I just love what I do. So anyway, that's the kind of the synopsis of this show. On the other hand, what we do is we actually bring people or companies into the studio that are members of Marks All Pros Referral Network. And this show is actually sponsored by Marks All Pros. And what we do is we bring them in here. We interview them, we talk to them, we ask them questions that we feel you would want to ask them, and then you can actually learn about that company. And then, of course, within a matter of either minutes or the whole show, you can go, I like this company. You get a feel for them. You can contact them directly, or you can find them on marksallpros.com under the Find a Pro section. Either way, the bottom line is we want to try to help you get acquainted with these companies. We want to help our companies that are members of Marks All Pros get their name out there, and of course tell their story. Gives you a chance to really kind of meet them, virtually right here on social media, but you get a chance to kind of meet them and learn more about them. And so today I have a really special guest. These guys actually are actually really cool guys. And I say that I do say that about a lot of people that come in, but it's like the truth is I don't think I would ever call someone out for not being a cool guy. But everybody is really cool people, and I really love that. You could kind of pot me down just a tiny bit, and I really enjoy that. I love working with somebody else needs to be potted down, Christy, please. There you go. That's better. Not too much, just enough that I can't hear them. Okay, perfect. So anyway, we're going to be talking with ReBell Tax and Insurance Solutions. We've got with me today here Ryan ReBell.
Yes.
And Jon Larrea.
Hello.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, Patrick, thank you for having us. And just in the spirit of what you just talked about, I just want to kind of endorse what you do and the background checks and the things that we had to do to be a part of Marks All Pros was really impressive. I didn't mind it in the least because we try to operate in the spirit of transparency.
Yeah.
So, but from that perspective, it was really awesome to see how deep you actually go to vet people that are sponsored by Marks All Pros or a part of Marks All Pros. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, look, two things. Well, the first one I already forgot, so we'll go to the second one. But the truth is, I've been doing this for 11 years, and I've always said that the minute that I sell out, like one thing Mark always says is he didn't want to build a pay to play referral network. And you guys obviously, by the way, you guys flew in from Reno, Nevada, and
Loomis, California.
And, right?
And the reason being is we're in the relationship business. At the end of the day, you say taxes and insurance and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But really what we do, we get all sorts of exposure into people's lives, especially financially. You can tell a lot about a person. So we're very much in the relationship business. So once we broach this new partnership with you, it was important for us to be here live and to meet you face to face and shake your hand and Mark's hand. And
yeah, for sure.
And that's why we went ahead with the investment in time and money and to come out here and just to hang out and be on your show. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to have you guys in. I just think it's awesome. And, going back to what I was talking about, that, Mark always says we didn't want to pay to play situations. So I appreciate you saying that, because there are other referral networks out there, particularly in the Denver area. There are some other ones around the country, and they're typically newscasters, the investigative teams that do it. And I can't tell you what they do for their background checks, and I can't tell you what they do, for the bar that they set for bringing companies in. I can only tell you what I do, and I can tell you what I've heard of other companies, other referral networks. And, that's one of the things that I always knew I wanted to raise the bar. I wanted to raise it pretty high. And what's funny is that in doing this prior to Marks All Pros, I turned down more companies than I actually approved. And it's funny because in the contracting world, there are there are guys that will actually start a business in one state. They'll run their name into the ground, burning people. They'll go to another state, or maybe the other side of that state. They'll run their name into the ground burning people. And it's kind of like that's their career path, is they don't really want to build a long-term business. And I always say there's two types of businesses out there. There's the first type of business that all they care about is profits, and they're short-term thinkers. They just want to fill their bank accounts now. And then there's the second type of company out there that are long-term thinkers, and they think about building their business long-term. And if you want to build a business long-term, you got to treat people right all the time.
It goes back to relationships. And
exactly.
If you treat people fairly, and we really covet all of our relationships, everything else will take care of itself.
Yep.
It's a little bit of investment in time, but those other things will take care of themselves. And then you start getting referrals and
exactly.
And really, our passion is to be able to help people and save people money, and that's why we do what we do. Even though everybody hates taxes and insurance, you can rest assured that you're in good hands with us.
Yeah, and I do want to say something. We talked a little bit earlier, and I'd mentioned something about, hey, we're going to talk about something everybody loves, and that's taxes and insurance. Not in a bad way.
He mocked us.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. I guess what I should say is that when I say that is that it's not a topic that most people really want to talk about or even do. But it's something we have to. It's kind of like planning for your funeral. At some point you're gonna die, right? So you got to plan for your funeral in some form or fashion, right? Same thing with taxes and insurance. It's something that you got to do, right? And it's not something that's always on the top of people's mind to talk about, And quite frankly, some people probably don't find it interesting. I do find it interesting,
I do too. So I was always really intrigued with the tax industry, and I've had an accountant down in San Diego and was really interested in what he was doing. And then I got one of my best friends and partner, Jon Larrea, and I said, hey, John, I want to learn about taxes. And his eyes lit up. I'm like, you know what? Will you help me do my taxes? And he's like, absolutely. So he came over to the house and we went up my office. And I'm like, let's do it. And he's all, I don't have my computer with the software. We'll do it old school, longhand. So we'll go on the IRS webpage and we'll print out all the forms. And he was just,
wow, really?
He was lit up. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And so we started to do this, Patrick. And about hour 3, I glazed over and like thumb in my mouth, fetal position under the desk, just tapping out like, forget it. Yeah, this is not my thing. I thought it might be. It's not.
I gotcha.
And he just absolutely crushed it and did much, much better than I had a really good CPA down in San Diego. He did even better than him, and just his due diligence and his attention to detail. Jon. Yeah. John's.
I thought you were throwing your partner under the bus there for just a quick second.
Did I say it?
No, I'm kidding.
Did I say it the wrong way around?
No, you said it right.
Yeah.
No, I got excited about this because nobody wants to know about their income taxes. They just want to know about their refund or, how much.
Sure.
If they're going to owe.
Yeah, I wanted to see behind the curtain. And
somehow, you want to see behind the curtain? Absolutely. Yeah. So we went through every number. I was giving them the reasons behind every number, what the regulations and what was going on. And, that took, I don't know, how long did that take us? So 4.5 hours?
Yes.
And at three, he was tapping out.
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
I was in there, but I literally glazed over. So I found out something about myself that I'd like to eat the sausage. I don't want to know how it's made. Yeah, in that regard.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, so I mentioned a little bit earlier for those of that are just joining the show that today's show is about small businesses and helping small businesses, and that's really what the topic is going to be today. And that's helping small businesses with their taxes and their insurance. And I'm going to get to that in just a second. But for me, when it comes to my bookkeeping, I'm a small business owner. I've been a small business owner pretty much my whole life. Matter of fact, my whole life. I've worked jobs very, very rarely, only when it was very well paying or something along those lines. And I can tell you that I am not the best about my bookkeeping, and my progression. I was telling you earlier that I used to throw my receipts in 2 boxes, like literally those those office boxes.
It's not unique.
No, you really?
Yes, we have a name for you. It's like the shoebox bookkeeper.
Yeah, well, mine weren't shoe boxes. Yeah. Those boxes you get
the big boxes.
Yeah, the banker's boxes.
Right.
Those white ones. Those were the ones I had.
Right.
And then I moved a lot just because I was single and I was like, I think I want to move here. I was enjoying my life. So I had all these boxes and I'm just like, this is driving me nuts. I had all these boxes with all these receipts in them that I had to truck around and keep around for 7 years, right? And so what's funny is I would find a bookkeeper and then she'd end up disappearing. And I know now why, because it's like you hand somebody a box of receipts and it's like, who wants to do that? Even a person, I can't imagine anybody that even would love to do that.
Right.
Right?
Right. That's
and so that was my problem is I know it, looking back, I'd hand somebody a box of receipts and say, help me, fix my books. And so I would go through bookkeepers and I'm just like, I can't keep a bookkeeper for the life of me. And then I finally met this lady, super sweet lady. And she said, Patrick, you're doing it wrong. She's like, you don't throw them in a shoebox. You put them in envelopes. And then you get your bank statements and you get a 3-hole punch and you 3-hole punch all your manila envelopes with all your receipts and your bank statements. You put them in a nice 3-ring binder. You put the year on the spine and you just put it up on a shelf. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that?
I would take it a step further and say that she is wrong, because really all we really need are the totals. So if you could put those in a spreadsheet, this guy lives on a spreadsheet. He's like really? Beethoven. I've seen him do things to spreadsheets that you wouldn't believe. So
wow.
we don't need the actual physical receipts. All we really need is the totals, and to be able to work with you in like a partnership fashion to make sure that you're categorizing everything correctly, that you're capturing all your expenses, that you're organizing all your assets so we can depreciate those. So there's a whole host of things that we work with you on, but really all we need, not the shoebox, not the box full of receipts. We just need those, that spreadsheet and send that over.
As the CPA.
Yes, right. As the CPA, as the bookkeeper, everything.
Right.
Yes.
So but it's absolutely crucial that you keep the receipts, though. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you. I was going to say that. Wait a minute. Hold on. So the point is that she had me put it in 3-ring binders, and now I've got the shelf that has 7 years worth of taxes. And what's so funny is at the 7th year, I'm just kind of like, ooh, I can't wait to throw them away. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I hate having them around. But what's interesting is that I had gotten my books pretty much almost completely, no, I shouldn't say that. She got them close to being caught up for me when she taught me this. And what's crazy is I'm like, I finally found a great bookkeeper, and I'm going to follow her path, and I'm going to do my books and QuickBooks, and I'm going to keep up with them. And she passed away. So here I am going, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. I finally found this great lady who taught me so much, and she passes away. I was so bummed out, I was so bummed out. And she was such a sweetheart, just the greatest lady.
So in a sense, you were a widower, right?
Yeah.
That's the relationship you had with this person.
Exactly. That's exactly right. She was such a sweetheart. And so anyway, but that was the one thing. Go ahead.
I was going to say, she also had possession of all of your receipts and
Yes.
whatnot. So I heard the story before. So when she passed, Patrick couldn't get his things back. So
Yeah.
to John's point, yes, you want to keep your receipts, but to our point,
That's a good point.
no, we don't want possession of them. We want the
You
totals.
want the bookkeeping
That way,
part of
if
it.
John gets hit by a truck or whatever, you have all the things that
Yep.
you need, and we have all the things that we need to do the business. So
Yeah.
she sounds like an incredible lady, and the main thing is that she's able to be competent in building your balance statement and your financials, and it sounds like she definitely did that.
Yeah.
Rest her soul.
Yes, exactly. And so, yeah, to finish the story, so she ended up, she passed away, and I went to go get my stuff, and her husband was like, yeah, sorry, I can't give you anything until her estate's all settled, because I don't know whose is whose, and I just don't know. I don't know if you owe her any money. I don't know any of this stuff. And I'm like, but I need my taxes. I got to get them done. And I couldn't do my taxes, So that's a lesson learned. So now, to your point, I don't need to provide you with that 3-ring binder. All I need to do is provide you with the books or access to the books that I've already entered the expenses myself, right? Unless you're doing them for me.
Yeah, and so I'm probably talking too much, but the main thing is you give us access to QuickBooks and whatnot. We can go in and reconcile all of your stuff with your actual bank account. So we do everything kind of behind the scenes. It's very streamlined. But to John's point, you have to keep those receipts. The IRS demands that you hold that for 7 years, and then you can have a ceremonial.
Yeah, throw away, burn.
That's it.
Well, so I mean, there's varying degrees of bookkeeping, right? So we wouldn't have to see the receipts if you're reconciling everything on a monthly basis or on an annual basis, and for sure that you're capturing all your expenses, and you're not commingling personal and business funds, and and you're capturing everything. If you're not, then I would absolutely love to see the receipts, because I want to make sure that you're capturing everything, and the expenses that belong with the business should go into the business, and not say a trip to Ross, because you're getting a swim trunks for the summer, right? Like that, so I would definitely like to see those kinds of things. But if you're buttoned up on your end, then all I need are summary totals. I don't have to audit your financials, and then we can streamline it that way. But we can tailor our work around your needs. We can go as deep as you want us to go, or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's been my biggest issue, and I know that there's other small business owners out there that are like me. I'm so busy constantly running my business that when it comes to actually sitting down and doing my books and entering the receipts. Now I have a friend, Chris. He's awesome at it. I used to work right across from him, helping him with his company. And man, every Friday I'd hear doo-doo, 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 and I'm like, this guy is so good with his books. And that's all I heard. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly that sound.
Yeah. The
QuickBooks sound.
Yeah.
Beep,
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's awesome with his books. And, my bookkeeper that I had hired at that time said, look, if you just do it once a week, it takes you less than an hour. And then at the end of the month, you're not scrambling, or even worse, at the end of the year. Scrambling. Right. And so, but to my demise, I just can't seem to keep up with them because I don't know QuickBooks. That's my biggest thing.
Right. And so that's the issue, because people get caught up in what they do best, right, which is their business. And so, I'll do it at the end of the month, and you know what, this month I'm so busy, so I'm going to do it next month, and I'll catch both months up. And then all of a sudden 12 months go by, you have to file your tax return, and you're doing everything in the last week of the year, right? And typically what happens there is people miss thousands of dollars of legitimate business expenses that they can take on their tax return, which obviously costs them tax dollars. Or also what happens is they guess, you know what? I spent $10,000 on this. I know I spent around $10,000, but they don't have receipts to back it up. They can't find the receipts. And then what happens is, should you get audited, they can disallow those expenses because you don't have any proof. right? You're just trying to make up, and that's just no way to be, because then you have to worry about, well, what if I did get audited? And oh my gosh, what would the tax liability be? And there's just all these things that just kind of hang over you when you don't dial in your books.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's very important to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, that's like I said, that's been my biggest problem is that, like the another bookkeeper who I hired after that gal passed away, she was teaching me QuickBooks. But if you don't do it every
act to follow, right? That was just too tough of an act to follow.
Yeah, exactly. and the thing is that if you don't do it, if you don't keep up with it on a weekly basis, you forget, right? So I didn't do it 1 week, and then the 1 week led into the next, and then the next, and the next thing I'm behind on my books, right?
That's the other thing you forget. Wait a second, I think I spent money on something I just can't remember, and then you forget about it. We'll just leave it. And then it just costs you tax dollars.
Right. That's amazing. And at the end of and then of course when it comes tax time, man, writing a $15,000 or $20,000 check is no fun.
It's very sobering.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That is crazy.
And then and what do you promise yourself? Next year I'm going to keep track of everything, and I'm going to get a good CPA, and then you get busy doing your job, and then you end up in the exact same spot as the prior year.
Yeah.
Okay. There's just keeping your books on a more consistent basis, like on a monthly basis, say. There's so many benefits to that, because then some companies are seasonal, or you start seeing an uptick in your expenses or in your revenue, and you can adjust the way you perform mid-year or every quarter based on what your expenses are, right? And you can't see that if you're doing all your books at the end of the year. Or you can't capture the fact that, wait a second, this certain expense is getting out of hand. You can't do that if you're doing it at the end of the year. So then you want to keep track of that on a monthly basis just to know where you're at, and just stay on top of things.
Yeah. Well, and that's been my like I say, my major problem is that I just I have good intentions, like you were talking about. I can see it. You're like, everybody has great intentions, but then it just falls behind, and next thing you know, it's nuts.
Yeah.
So
to kind of put a bow on it, there's some basic accounting principles that most small businesses do, and the first thing John touched on earlier is not integrating your funds. You have to have your own business account, your own business credit cards, and that just makes everything much easier as opposed to going through your own individual stuff. And that's also a big red flag to the IRS, especially if you're not keeping a monthly total. So that's first and foremost. Second, if you have a good bookkeeper, that's outstanding, and we would just encourage you to stay with them if they're very responsive and they're good at what they do and they're creating that balance sheet and financials. Let's continue with that, because we work with them greatly. So we have some clients, small businesses that have really buttoned up with their bookkeepers, and we have a great relationship with them. So we're unique than most bookkeepers because you actually have a elite CPA preparing your books. So we're not a good fit for everybody. We might be a bit of an overkill, but if you're really struggling in that area, we can step in and do that. And the nice thing with that is then you're completely buttoned up, and you can rest assured that everything is going to roll from year to year, from your balance statement right into your tax returns. And that's just a huge load off. And then we're also providing tax advice during that. Like if we see something glaring, maybe you're a sole proprietor or you're a partnership, maybe you should be operating in an S corporation or C corporation. We'll have a look at the big picture and can advise you accordingly.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, we've been talking a little bit about taxes in general. Let's talk about, your company as a whole. So you guys do obviously bookkeeping. You've already mentioned that. Name some of the other things that you do.
Well, our core strength is income taxes, right? Okay. All entities, individuals, LLCs, S corps, C corps. We also handle international, so expats, U.S. expats living all over the world, and they can have their foreign businesses that they start up, and we can help them with that, because there's all kinds of different filing requirements for whatever your situation is. And so I have experience in all of those areas. I would say my core strength is in small businesses, right? You're talking about 10 million or less, or 20 million or less or so. But I did have, for a while, I worked for the largest geothermal energy producer that had about $2 billion of assets. And surprisingly, you'd think they'd have their tax department in order. We were a tax department of 2. We operated in 6 different states. We were a completely vertical company, so they manufactured everything, and then they did all the research and development, and they drew all the geothermal water or the heat from the ground, and there was a lot. I mean, it was income tax compliance, property tax, mining tax, because they fell under oil and gas, and sales tax, and all. I found myself doing absolutely everything. Plus, they were an international company, so I had to handle that part of it, and it was wild.
Long story short, there's not a case that you're going to bring to us that's going to be too complicated. We can handle it all.
That's awesome.
That's right.
You seem like you like the challenge of it too.
Absolutely. I mean, the challenge aspect of it, the learning aspect, the research that I had to do just to get up to speed was just so much fun. Absolutely.
The best part, though, without a doubt, is to see the results and to see how much we can actually go in and save people and help people, especially small businesses, which we have a huge appreciation for. People that go out, entrepreneurial spirit. It's part of the American way, and we want to support them in every way possible. And we just, at the end of the day, we fundamentally believe that you can spend your money better than most governments, especially ours.
Yeah. Well, that's
exactly
that's
right.
for sure. Yeah.
And I apologize. I'm not getting political, and I don't want to offend anybody, but that's just what we believe, and we think you can do really good things with your money.
Sure.
And the reason why we want to focus on small businesses is because, when you're dealing with a large international corporation, well, they kind of have their processes, and if you say them 100,000 here or 50,000 there, it's not that big of a deal. But when you're saving a small business equals a family, right? Equals a husband and a wife supporting their kids, trying to create a life for them and for themselves, and give their kids an education. And so when you're saving them $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 in their tax return, it's a big deal, and you're impacting them directly, and you're helping their family, not just their business, but you're helping their entire livelihood. And so that's where I like to focus. That's where I think I can be most effective and where I get the most enjoyment.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And so you do bookkeeping, you do tax. What else? What else do you do?
So I've learned that it's called tax compliance. So that's when John prepares all the tax returns, and we can e-file and do that. And one of the things that we do, we have our own insurance agency, which is unique because our allegiance and our we're really based on our clients, because that's the relationship. It's not to a carrier. So the allegiance is to our clients and to save them money. So we'll go out and look at their current insurance, and we'll go out and shop the open market. And at very least, we'll come in and say, yeah, you're getting a really good deal. We say it all the time, but sometimes we can save them hundreds. A lot of times we save them thousands of dollars. And so it could be in the form of workman's comp, general liability. It could be as simple as home and auto. Sometimes we'll do, we'll build tax shelters for small businesses where we can set them up with a life insurance with a cash account that's tax-free, IUL. Sometimes we'll do annuities. But at the end of the day, we're shopping all the carriers for that, our client's best interest in mind. So that's what we want to do, and that's what we really want to impress upon you. Our allegiance is to the clients and not the carriers, and that really reveals itself to the bottom line in the product that you get.
Right. Okay, that's great. So, what are other things? Is there anything else that we're missing? I want to make sure that small business owner, the bottom line is I don't want it to look like, it's just this big, huge menu of stuff. We're focusing on small businesses today.
Right. And
so these things all help a small business. So when you sit down with a small business owner, how does that work? Like, say if I was a small business owner and I'm watching this video and I'm like, you know what? I can relate to what these guys are saying. I like these guys. They call you. What's the first step? What happens?
Well, the first step is just getting to know each other, right? We introduce ourselves, tell them about what our strengths are, and then we dive in and find out what their business is, how do they operate, just basically everything about their business, and then from there we take their information, we go through absolutely everything that they have, and then we just have a continuing conversation as we learn more, as they learn more. We can formulate a plan for their business to run as efficiently as possible.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. We really pride ourselves in keeping the line of communications open, but really what we're doing is the IRS allows us to go back 3 years. And so if we
get refunds, I mean, we can go back more, but to get refunds, it's 3 years.
So we're talking, at the end of the day, I'm kind of backing into one of the core things we do, or we end up doing most of the time, and it's amendments. And so we'll go back and we'll look at what you've done in the last 3 years of your returns. IRS, they're allowed to go back 7 years, but they only allow us to go back 3 years. Us meaning the consumer, you, me. But if they catch something, they go back 7 years. So we'll
such a fascinating, completely level playing field, isn't it?
right. So
Right.
And so that being said, we'll go back and do a review and ask questions. And more often than not, something's missed, and we'll more than make up for whatever our fee is to do an amendment by the savings. And that's generally what we find ourselves in. And through that process, we get a really good snapshot of who you are, what you do, how you run your business. And then moving forward, we can button everything up and make sure we're capturing those moving forward.
Okay, so me as a small business owner, I can tell you I do this all the time. At what point do you talk about money and how much does it cost? I mean, obviously it's different for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But give me an idea.
So that's a great question. And we have a few different avenues for you to transmit your prior year returns. Ultimately, once you're a client, we set you up with your own secure portal that's hosted by a very secure cloud that through our accounting system. So you can upload information and you can download information. And so we share that unique custom portal to you. So back to your question, once you upload all your returns, we can get a good idea of the scope of work that's needed. And then we can give you a firm quote on what something's going to cost, because we'll know all of your workings and going ons from there.
Okay. And do you charge for that, or is it just something that you do to?
We've never charged for that. We haven't charged for it yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Free reviews of prior years, and just a look at all the information and what the work is needed. We don't charge for that. And then we have a conversation, about.
That's appealing. I mean, to a guy like me, because I've had people go, just to talk to me, it's like $175 an hour.
Right.
And it's like, but what if I don't want to work with you? Mm-hmm. What if you may be very good at what you do, but I want to get along with you.
It's a big commitment, and we understand that, and we're pretty confident in what we do. We've been doing it a while, so it just doesn't happen when we go through everything, explain our processes, and be like, hey, this is what we caught, this and this and this. We can save you X amount. We learn not to be too specific.
Yeah,
we've learned that the hard way.
Believe me, it happens in all industries.
Yeah, so we try to kind of keep the cards somewhat close to the vest, only because we've been burned.
Oh yeah. Isn't it amazing that people are out there like that? It's like
by our neighbor. Right. Yeah, our neighbor. He brought him off, and we're like, oh yeah, you're missing this, this, and this.
Hey, if you're watching, we got you, man.
Yeah. And we've actually turned him into a verb. Like, we don't want to get so-and-so'd, so that's kind of how we operate and what we do. And so the main thing is that our fee, what we find, has to justify our fee and then some to make it worth. Otherwise,
absolutely.
Otherwise we just let it be.
Well, we don't do anything without the customer consent first off, right? And to get customer consent, they have to know exactly where we're coming from, so that we're both on the same page before anything happens, and there's no surprises, right? That's what we do. And also, another thing is we don't want to operate our firm like on a transactional basis. Like, that when you call us, you're going to get a $80 telephone fee, right? We want you to be able to call us, and if you just have like a question, or it's a simple question, then we're going to answer that question. We're going to help you in that, for that question. But if it's a project where we're gonna have to do some research, or do a lot of calculations and build up the information, well, then we do have a project fee. But if it's just like a conversation, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and I don't want you to dig into it, but is this a good idea, bad idea? Absolutely, give us a call. We're not gonna send you an invoice.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. So you mentioned earlier you've been doing this a while. Tell me a little bit about how long you've been doing. As a CPA, how long have you been doing this?
Almost 2 decades.
Almost 2 decades. And then ReBell Tax and Insurance Solutions has been in business for?
We're coming up on 2 years.
2 years.
At the beginning, first quarter next year, second quarter next year.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And then how long ago was it that you were telling me the story you had him come to your place in San Diego?
That was 5 years.
Was it San Diego?
That place was actually my current residence in Loomis, California.
Loomis. Okay.
Yeah, but
different.
I used to live down there in another world, and I'd always kept that same CPA and loved working with them.
Gotcha.
Until I met Jon, and then I'm like, wow. Meeting Jon kind of opened my eyes to like the possibilities, and just seeing people and how much they were paying in taxes. And so when I ended my tenure with my company of 16 years, I was doing risk management, financial services with large financial institutions primarily credit unions, and I was traveling all over the nation. When I ended that tenure, I've always wanted to start my own business, and I go, what better combination than insurance and taxes? So I made the drive over to John's house in Reno, and I pitched him, and here we are today. And so it's been going great, just exactly as planned.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's talk so we talked a little bit about pricing. That's pretty cool. I like that because, like I said, I've shopped for even bookkeepers, and it's like you get somebody that you can tell doesn't really know quite what they're doing, and they're like, oh, I'm $75 an hour. But then you get somebody that's really good at it, and they're efficient, and they're like, yeah, I'm like $35 an hour or $40 an hour, and it's like, it's so hard to find.
It's the Wild West. I mean, you get the whole spectrum.
Let me share something with you. John used to work for a top 5 accounting firm, Grant Thornton, and he was a senior there, and his billing per hour that he charged when he worked for that firm was close to $400. So we're not even charging half of that. So that's just gives you a little perspective, like the type of CPA that you're getting for literally half the price. So that's what's unique.
We're coming in lean and mean.
That's it.
That's awesome.
But to be fair, we don't have large building. We don't have all the the overhead that they do. So you're able to get that grade of CPA for half the price.
Yeah. So now let me ask you a question. Obviously, companies grow. How will you grow? Do you want to try to maintain that? How will you grow and keep that smaller, mid-sized type business feel? How will you do that?
Well, since we started last year, we're still in the growth phase, and we have a lot of room for growth where we can manage this right now. I mean, right now we're fine, but we are starting to talk about that because we're starting to see a lot of growth already, more growth than we expected, through referrals and everything that's coming in. But our client, our relationships are our most important thing. And so we don't, like I said, we don't want to be that transactional firm where it's just like, this cold, send us your information, here's your tax return, see you next year.
Well, Patrick, let me tell you how what a lot of firms are doing is once they hit that sweet spot and they start growing, what they're doing is a lot of times without your consent, and your CPA may be doing this, they're taking your information and they're sending it overseas to India, the Philippines, and they're having somebody, maybe making $15-20 an hour that's actually doing all the dirty work, data entry, categorizing everything into the returns. They ship it back, and then your CPA kind of just thumbs through it, stamps it, and off he goes. So all of a sudden it becomes a volume play with them, and we're seeing that 9 times out of 10. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, and we just don't want to be that. So when we hit capacity, which we haven't yet, we'll have that conversation. And then do we want to just keep the book of business we have? Do we want to grow it? If so, if we do grow it, then we're going to have a conversation about we have to hire the right person. But that's down the line. And we right now we're just kind of keeping our eye on the ball and what's in front of us. And that's growing our business to capacity.
Sure. Now I'm going to ask you a question that I'm pretty sure nobody's going to find like it's valuable, but is your business, like, honestly, I think about a bookkeeper, it's like January, February, March, nothing. And then December, October, nothing.
Absolutely.
Negative.
No?
Yeah, absolutely
Really?
not. It's year-round projects all the way around. And we kind of assumed that that's the way it was going to be. That's not the way it is at all.
But you certainly get slammed more so than
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, busy season's busy season. I
Sure.
mean, you're just working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and that's it.
Man,
We just
you're
finished
grinding
ranking
it
it
out.
out.
We just finished tax extension season, and it was bananas. I mean, because
Tax extension season's worse than the initial season because you can't extend past that deadline, and so it becomes a lot more important.
and it's all procrastinators that come in with their shoebox. And
The
they're like,
worst of the worst, you get the worst information.
yes.
So in October or like not October, but say like September when people call you, you're like, so how do you keep track of your receipts?
That's it.
Right. Right.
So we're learning that the
You're
hard way.
screening your
We got to
calls.
be able to vet them and just know exactly what's involved. Are we going to get the Patrick shoebox dropped off at our doorstep, which we have happen all the time, or are they buttoned up? They have everything on their Excel spreadsheet, and then we can go through that with them. So that's the difference.
Right.
So but for instance, after 10/15, this is extension. The extension's over, and everyone's taxes were done. Thank goodness. But what we focus on now, there's always work, and so IRS notices. We do IRS representation. We do tax projections. We do tax planning for the future year. We do entity restructures. We're doing there's an endless amount of work to do. There's really no off season. I mean, there's times where it's busier than others, but we're busy year round.
What it is,
it's nice.
There's times when certain things take priority and we have to say, we have to focus on this and just kind of table those other projects and tax projections and tax consulting. And everybody's been very understanding. And we just say, hey, we set their expectations accordingly, and then we follow through. And it's as simple as that, and it seems to go over very well. We're slammed for the next 2 weeks. Can you give us a third week, or is this something that needs your immediate attention? And they're usually very pleasant and say, yeah, call us after 10:15.
Right. Some issues need to be taken care of right away. But some, as long as you're letting the client know what's going on with us, they let us know what's going on with them, we work together, and it just usually works out smoothly and everyone's happy. Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you guys, you've already talked about your kind of pricing structure, which I think is so tailored to small businesses, which small business owners or medium-sized business owners really need that, I think. Especially guys that are like me. Like, I don't have a secretary. I don't have, I obviously don't have a bookkeeper. I don't have an HR department. I'm a small business owner, right? So it's really, I like that because it's tailored around a guy like myself, and
you can't fit everybody in the same box. Everybody's unique. Everybody's business is unique. The people are unique, all these different relationships. And that's quite frankly what we love is, we love most of our clients. They're just really good people and people you want to spend time with anyway. So that being said, you can't put them all in the same box. The scope of work differs and varies for each of them, and some are much more complex and some are very simple.
Yeah, interesting.
And our number one thing is there's no surprises. You're not going to get surprised with a massive fee at the end of the project or anything like that. These are everything that we talk about beforehand. And we have an explanation for everything we do.
Okay, so we were talking before the show, and you told me a couple of examples. Obviously, you don't want to name names, but can you tell me those two? Those are like impressive examples. Like, tell me those two stories.
So, yeah.
Or can you?
Yes, I absolutely can. I just wanted to figure out how I wanted to frame it. Well, I can tell you that Christy reached out to one of them as one of our referrals. So Mark's All Pros, they do a deep dive review into our past. We touched on it at the beginning of the show, but they're actually calling our clients. They're, doing extensive background checks, things that I very much respect because it shows that you're vetting and it shows that you have integrity and you're taking the extra step, making sure that if you're recommending somebody and you're putting your name on it, that it's not going to come back to bite you. So I knew where you were coming from and I really appreciated it.
Thank you.
But one of the examples was one of the people that she talked to. He's a small gym owner. He does a CrossFit business, and I mentioned this because he's become like our number one salesman. He goes out there, and he would be thrilled to hear his name on this show. And his name's Dave Papalotti, Loomis, California. Shout out!
What's up, Dave?
What's up, Dave?
Yeah. So we love Dave. He sports our swag everywhere he goes, and he's just pitching because
he's the best.
We're able to really impact his life positively. And I won't get into the details, but when you're making a monthly payment to the IRS and then John goes through the books and digs a deep dive in there and he finds out that he's getting double taxed and all sorts of different things that shouldn't have happened. And then he can go back and amend and save him tens of thousands of dollars. That's a big difference in not just his life, not his business life, but his family's life and the trajectory of what's going to happen. So
yeah, for
but
sure.
Not only that, but eliminate that payment plan eliminate it, right? Like take it away. And that payment plan was almost a mortgage.
That's it. And now he gets a big sum on top of it because some guy who
penalties and interest alone were over $15,000.
So a guy who is a credited CPA just doing shoddy work. And it happens all the time. And that's what was surprising getting in this business is there's just a sea of hacks. So if you have any suspicion out there that your CPA is not being diligent and not asking enough questions, I most assuredly can promise you that you're probably correct. And he's leaving a lot of meat on the bone, and it affects your business and your family ultimately.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, can you tell me the other story, but without saying the name? And is it okay to talk about the amount, or do you not want to do that? Because I was like blown away.
It's tens of thousands of dollars. And the other story I was telling you about, I won't mention the name, but we have like most small businesses, we have a Yelp page. And so he found us on Yelp, and he went through the process, saying his prior tax returns, and it didn't take John very long to immediately see that there was things done incorrectly. And so we went back and said, hey, we think we should amend these times. And he's like, well, I'm not so sure. He's scared of the IRS. And be like, there's no need to be frightened of the IRS. If you're operating in truth and facts, and these are core numbers, core expenses that are legitimized, the IRS has nothing. You don't have to be afraid of the IRS. We work with IRS. We do IRS representation. We got you. And he's like, okay. So we amended it. And yeah, literally got him tens of thousands of dollars. And then he's like, that's great. So then he sent us all of his insurance, and we went and out shopped it, saved him another couple $1,000s. So he was pretty stoked. And I was like, hey, the funny thing was he didn't leave us a positive Yelp review. He didn't leave a negative one. He just didn't leave one. He's like, hey, thank you very much. He paid his bill, and that was it.
We would obviously, I'd give him a call after when I had the drafts, when we'd go over the drafts. I'm like, well, hey, this is how much we're saving you this year, and it was just racking up tens of thousands of dollars. And his response was, wasn't like, oh, hey, thank you so much. Not that I need that,
sure,
but it was just, oh, okay. So do I have to mail these, or are you going to e-file them for me? It's like, no, you have to mail amended returns. He's like, okay, well, thank you, and I guess I'll see you next year.
Yeah, that was so. At the end of the day, we were way more excited than he was. We were just giving high fives and this and that, and he's just like, "Cool, thanks. See you next year."
Yeah. So. Well, I think maybe what it was he was sitting down going, "I'm going to Mexico, man." He couldn't even think about he just was like, "I'm going on vacay, baby."
That's it.
Right. That's so awesome. What a great story.
But we have those all the time, and quite frankly, 99% of the work we do, we more than justify our fee, and you're saving more of that. I say this phrase all the time. People are literally stepping over thousands of dollars to pick up a couple $100 in tax prep. Like if you're going to H&R Block, I promise you're getting hosed. We are the biggest fans of H&R.
In your opinion?
In my opinion,
yes.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah. And in my experience, they are they're just data entry processing. So we're big fans of H&R Block because we're going back doing 3 years of amendments almost every time.
Sure. So you're a big fan of H&R Block in that aspect.
Very much.
I mean, okay, they provide a necessary service for, in a pinch, or, when you need to get something done, you can go there. But the thing is we spend a lot of our time, like TurboTax, H&R Block, people, returns of those natures. We spend a lot of our off season fixing those returns.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, you guys are truly, I'm so impressed. And I was before we got you onto the referral network. You and I spoke multiple times. You and I didn't get a chance because he had you in the dungeon, he said.
That's it.
But it's been a pleasure.
The dungeon with a warm glow of all of his monitors. It looks like mission control center.
How many monitors do you have, by the way?
He just slides a couple ribs and a slice of bread under the door. And
that's it.
Is that what he does? That's good. How many monitors do you have?
3. Yeah. I have 3 right now.
Isn't that amazing?
And they kind of wrap around him. It's really cool.
Really? It's like a little cockpit,
Yeah. David, our partner in Mark's All Pros, he actually has been on one monitor, and he was just like, man, that's pretty cool because I have 2. He's like, that's pretty cool. He's like, do you like it? And I'm like, if you do it, I promise you will never go back to 1. Yeah. I want to try 3.
3 is the best because, for me in particular, you have one screen for research, another screen for the work papers, and a third screen for the software.
Guys, it's been really awesome having you on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm really happy to have you on. And look, I just let's tell people how to get in touch with you, because I know that there's going to be people that are watching this. They're going to go, these guys are my guys.
Absolutely. And thank you for having us on. And it's been a pleasure, the whole process. And I really appreciate your due diligence at the risk of repeating myself. And I'm kind of the front man. We joked about keeping John in the dungeon, but he's generally working, doing his thing. So I do the front man. I coordinate a lot of times the meetings, all of that stuff, gathering the information. And I welcome the phone call anytime. And my direct line is 916-660-9963. That goes right to my office. And if I'm not there, generally I forward it to my cell. So you're going to get a hold of me. And it's amazing. This business, we get a lot of business just by picking up the phone. So 9 times out of 10, if you call, I'm going to pick up unless I'm on a call with somebody else.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's different than a lot of places you get voicemails. How about your website?
Yeah, it's www.rebeltis, and the TIS stands for taxinsurancesolutions.com. And disclaimer, I made that myself. It's literally my first web page, so it's nothing. There's no lot of bells and whistles to the web page, but it gets.
He did a great job, though.
Yeah, it gets our point across, and it just kind of shows who we are.
Yeah,
we're just like you, everyday business people, and trying to make our way and provide for our families.
Well, I can tell you this: I've built many websites, and you did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did a real good job.
That means you made my day.
Yeah, no, I really have. I've built a lot of websites. I don't like doing it, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great website. So, guys, thanks so much for being here today. And for those of you, you small business owners, do me a favor. If you're on our YouTube channel, please do me a favor, like the show or like us, and then of course hit that little notification bell and hit subscribe so that anytime that we upload a video or we go live, you get notified and you can learn more about all the things that you want to do with your life, whether it's remodel your home or you want to hire a real estate agent or get a mortgage broker or whatever the case may be. Or if you're on our Facebook page, do me a favor, like this video, share this video with as many people as you can, because I think this is great, people. If you know someone that is a small business owner, or if you are a small business owner yourself, but if you know someone that is a small business owner, shoot them over this video, because I think this is very, very valuable information, and you guys are just super great guys. So thanks for joining us today on the Consumer's Corner.
Our pleasure. Yeah.
And
thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have you guys on. I'm looking forward to the next time.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Yep. Got it.